Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Dance without music to condition your body. We're going to get right into it since we do have a lot to go over, and the review is very important. And actually, having this review, after the review, I would have to say that about 75% of the work is done. However, the other 25% is it's a lot of work. So 75%, the reason why I say 75% is because there's so many new things that you learned that um, it entails so many different concepts, and it's not just the dance that we did, but it's also the things that I talked about, and they all go hand in hand. And in anything, I think if it's dance, if it's painting, if it's accounting or whatever, a lot of what you learn is in listening to the instructor, studying, homework, and in this case, it would be practicing, thinking about it, processing the information. So as far as the dance itself, the dance without music that we're doing with the format of the thriller dance, I would have to say that 75%. After you get to a point to where you can really feel comfortable and do the review, I'll have to say 75% is done. So it's good if you were able to follow through and listen to the tape and listen to the information. The information is very important because it gives you things that I learned which took me a lot of time to not come up with, but to understand. So we're going to get right into it. What I'm going to do is go through the system of what we've already done. And I have three major points that I'm going to cover. And each section that I do up there is going to entail one of the points. The first point is going to be, let me see. The first point is going to be, what was the first point? The first point was focus. The first point is focus, okay? We're going to talk about focus. The second point is between time. Sometimes I say before time, but I like to use the term between time. And the third one is thinking, okay? And then after we finish that, we're going to talk about remembering like one step after another. I mean, like when you're doing your dance without music, you have to know what comes next. And I'm give you a pointer on how best to cope with going from one thing to the next. And then maybe, hopefully, if everything works out, I can get into the next stage. I think it's number 5. I mean, V. I'm going to call it V for Roman numerals. Okay, so let's get into it. I'm going to do the first section. And this is what I'm going to call focus. This is the point that I'm going to cover is focus. Okay? Okay. I did that 3 times. I did it, I mean, basically when you go through the whole session, you only have to do it once, but you can do it as many times as you want. I would say 3 or 4, but you are doing a lot. Like if I don't want to go over the things that I've already went over because it's going to make this YouTube longer. So a lot of times when I might stall, I might like cut out a lot of things. I'm just figuring out what to cut out. So this one is on focus. Focus is very important. What I just did and what you should do is focus on what you're doing, okay? When you focus, you can pretty much focus on anything. There's certain things that we do, which we're going to learn about as far as thinking is concerned, that we can only do for certain instances. But focus is very important because it's using everything that you have, all your energy, your mental energy, your physical energy, and you're gearing it to what you're doing at present. So that's why I say focus is very important. However, when you're not familiar with focusing, a lot of times you go in and out of focusing. Most people do. You focus on one thing maybe a few seconds at a time, but then other things, other distractions, which is not bad, get in your way of doing the activity. But when you do something very well, like the things that you do usually at work, you have gained a knowledge of how to focus on things that you are doing very well, which should have taken, or most likely has taken, a long time for you to do, because usually people don't understand or how to bring up their focus. Well, this part of the dance that I just did, this part of the section of dance without music, you have to keep that focus. And it doesn't give you too much to do, but you're doing a lot because you're going from one part of the step all the way to the end, and you're using your focus. And believe it or not, it will help you in life and everything. It doesn't seem like a lot of things that we do may not seem like it's a lot, but it's a lot because your body and your mind processes the information, okay? Then it distributes the information. Then after it distributes, it's up to you to find out that something is new. We'll go cover that at another time, but that process, what I just told you, is very important. Now I'm going to go into the next one, and that the point I'm going to cover is going to be between time. And I usually use this for the transition. Usually at the first step that we do, I make it a transition. I don't start in what I'm going to do the steps, okay? What I do is I make the transition and then go into the steps that I'm going to do for that one. Let's go do it. Okay. Okay, I did that. Oh, there's one more thing that we have to do, because we have to do the head thing, okay, which I didn't do. Okay. What I did, that was still part of the focus. I didn't, those two sections that I did, it was actually, that was still part of the focus. Now we're going to get into the transition and between time, okay? Now it goes faster. Okay, now we did a transition, okay? I also do it. I don't practice that much because I want to do it as if you were doing it. And like I made mistakes because I don't practice that much. I mean, I don't do it perfect because I want you to see the changes that I make, okay? And all of that is very important too because you get to see how you interact with your communications with your body, okay? And you'll pick it up if you keep watching the things that I do, okay? I just make changes all the time, okay? Because I remember what I'm supposed to do. I didn't do it the right way. I did it the way I was supposed to do it. So I want you to look at the things that I was supposed to do. Like for instance, when I did the hand, I didn't do the hand, and then I decided to do the hand. Okay, the zombie hand. Maybe sometimes I made too many steps. If I made too many steps, I went back and I did less steps because remember also you want to keep in the box and you don't want to use that much space because when you're not using that much space, you're learning more and it's better for focus. Okay. So the between time, I said that one was going to do as far as the between time. The between time is something that we create. It's very artistic. We create it and we actually bring it out and make and go along with what's going on in the world, okay? Like for instance, like I said, I want to do the transitions. I don't want you to start at where you're supposed to, where you're gonna be doing the dance without music. I want you to start like straight up and then go into the transition, okay? So you can see why the first two wasn't really a transition because it was already, my body was already set. But you notice when I did a transition, okay, I had to figure that out, okay? I had to set myself up and then do the transition. Then do the transition. So when I set myself up, that's what I call between time because you have it. And right now you can't see. Right now you can't see it. You can't notice it because you don't know what it is. But after a while, you'll see, oh, I'm ready. But let me do one thing to show you a little bit more about between time. Maybe I'll talk it through. Okay? Like, I'm right here, okay? And the first one, when I go like this, is supposed to be slow. The second one is supposed to be faster. So, right now I'm setting up and I'm putting it together to where, because if I don't have the in between time, if I don't have the between time ready, that means I could go fast or I could go slow. But that's not the way we work. We adjust what we want to do and then do it. Okay? So let's try this. So now I know, look how I'm preparing my body. I'm saying, okay, wait, this one has to be slow. Now, if I say I'm ready to do the fast one, okay, I do another setup, a body setup. So watch this. The first one is like this. Okay, I know it's slow. The second one, if you can see that change, okay, this is what you call between time. Okay, it's slow. I know I'm just going to go into that. So I'm going to do it. Here it goes. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the fast one. Okay. Now this is a slow one. Now I have to do a transition. But like I said, I have to do it between time, okay? Because it's not happening. You can change it any time. So watch this. Do it again. You see how my body's relaxed. So I'm going to do the between time. It hasn't happened. It's something I'm going to bring out in the world, okay? Now I'm going to do it to where I'm not going to go. I'm just going to exaggerate it. And now I can even do it with the rhythm. Watch how it looks when I do it with the rhythm. We studied that. You got to go back if you don't know. So let me break it, let me separate it before I go, okay? Okay? So you see, the between time, okay, is very important, because if you don't set up what you want to do in your mind, then there's nothing you can do, okay? A lot of people don't realize that, but now that'll give you a little foundation as far as that's concerned, because that's really big. So usually we're gonna do the only thing I want you to know about that is when you do your transition, don't start off in the position of your transition, but get into your transition. Don't worry about noticing between time or your setup. Don't worry about anything. Focus is the most important, okay? Now we're going to do the other step. We're going to finish out with the other step as far as a review is concerned. And then we're going to talk about thinking. Very important, okay? And like I said, I'm doing this, I practiced maybe like 2 or 3 times, but I want to do it the way someone would do it, not how you would do it yourself, okay? It's not something that you say you have to do, you have to do, you have to do. You have to do perfect, you have to do perfect. But as you go on, you're going to do it perfect naturally, okay? Another thing too is because you have such little space and we only use pretty much 4 beats or whatever, it's not stressing out on your focus, okay? And it's also not, it's not pressuring you to do, to keep in a certain, mind frame. And that cuts up things, and it also helps you remember what's going next. So now I'm going to do the other one, and that one's going to, and that's going to be the thinking that we're going to talk about afterwards. I'm going to do it one more time. Okay. Now, thinking. Like I said, you've seen me make mistakes. You've seen it's all it's all, I don't want to say internal all the time. It's all something artistically done in your mind, in your body, okay? So now thinking. A lot of people think that you think everything out. Thinking is usually, thinking is so many things, but it's not everything. We do so many things in our mind, but most of the time people think that everything is one thing, which is not really good. It's like throwing everything all over everywhere in your house and in your bedroom or whatever. So you can't just like you say everything is everything, okay, in your mind, because it's not. It's very organized. Now, thinking is one thing. I told you about focusing. Focusing and thinking are 2 different things, okay? Focusing is focusing, and you can focus on a lot of different things. Thinking is totally different. Thinking is more of one of the functions. I don't want to say all the functions. I want to say one part of thinking is organization. Organization is pretty much the function of, I'm not saying, I don't want to make absolutes because things change, things could be this way, things could be that way, and never take one thing and say this is for sure and this is how we do it and that's how it is and that's it. No, it doesn't work like that, especially with the mind and body. It could be any changes. But I'm saying thinking as a tool is organization, okay? If I'm talking to you right now and the doorbell rings, I'll start thinking, oh, I wonder who it is. If I need something in the next room, I have to talk and have to think to you, and I have to think to myself while I'm talking, and I say, well, should I do it or should I not? Should I turn this off? And if you see it, you'll see it in my videos because I don't really, I don't edit anything. You see me go away and get something and come back. Well, I thought about it while I was speaking. A lot of people think speaking is thinking, but pretty much it's from what I see, maybe it can be, but it's pretty far away. Like the speech that I'm giving you right now, I practiced. Not so much practice everything, but I go over material that I want to cover, okay? But I want it to be more real. I want it to be with life in it. So I don't I don't use a piece of paper. I don't use like notes or outlines, okay? Because I make it put more life into it. Thinking is more, I'm not, like I said, the reason why I stop a lot of times because I don't want to make any absolutes because there's no absolutes that I can see. I just want to give you examples and I want to give you hints, things that'll help you out in life and doing this dance without music. We think a lot of times in paragraphs, okay? We think in paragraphs. Let's just keep it like that. We think in like paragraphs. We can think in paragraphs, let's put it that way. And have you ever thought about something and then you do it and then your thinking goes? Because while you're doing something, just like I'm speaking to you right now, my thinking is free. I mean, I'm not thinking at all because I know that I have to keep my thinking clear to come across, if I come up with other points. Like in the last one, I remember, which these YouTubes has helped me not to just, when I get something popped in my head, just not, all the time blurt it out because it may be important, it may not be important. So I've learned that just recently doing these YouTubes. So when I'm speaking to you right now, I'm not thinking about it. I have my thinking, but I'm not speaking. I'm just going over the material that I went over with, before this YouTube for a long time, going over and over and over and which points I should make. So I'm not thinking right now, but if I get a point in my head, I can think about whether I should use it or not because I'm speaking now. So that's another thing. We have thinking, we have speaking, totally different. But like I said, what I see is that thinking is more like an organizer, okay? Like for instance, last week I was telling you, I was bringing a lot of points to come to my head because it was really tough and complex information. So I was thinking about a lot of things that I wanted to tell you, but yet it was kind of, it kind of harmed certain things because I should have just either not stopped or should have not let the thinking process mess up what I was trying to tell you like I'm doing now. So this has helped me out as far as doing YouTube is concerned. So like thinking is more for me, and what I've learned, like I said, no absolutes, thinking is more of a organization skill, okay? Not skill, but a process that your mind does, okay? I could pretty much think about anything while I'm speaking to you, whether I should do something, whether I should not do something, how long should this be? So anyway, so that's what the whole point is. I want to tell you about thinking. That's what I was telling you for the last point that I made as far as doing that last segment of the Dance Without Music. You saw me think about what I did the first time, and then I said, well, I think I should do this again, okay? That's the only time I thought. I thought about, oh, am I doing this right? These things are things you're thinking about when you dance without music. Am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? Should I do this over again? So those are the points. I'm touching lightly on it, but it is such a big topic, okay? Okay, so now we finished that, and that pretty much clears out the review. Now there's one more thing I want to go over as far as this segment is concerned, is learning or understanding what comes next. Because as we go along, there's already like 10 things that we do. It might become like 15 or 20. The only thing we have to do is a little trick. It's not really a trick, but we do it all the time, but we don't realize it. It's like when you're reading a book, okay? When you read a book, of course you have the bookmark, but it's not just a bookmark. The most important thing is where we are in the story. That is a location thing that we use when we read books. Those of you who read novels or a book that you're reading, you have the bookmark, but you still need to know where you're at in the book, what's happened, what's happening, what happened before you stopped reading, okay? So that's like a location. When we're walking down the street that we walk down all the time, a street that we really enjoy, we pretty much know what's coming next, okay? I walk like a lot, okay? But there's one street that has blocks and blocks and blocks, but a lot of times I say, oh, well, I'm at this section now, or I'm at that section now, or I'm at this section. Well, that's the same thing you could use in dance without music. If you want to go straight through one whole, maybe like 10 or 15 different moves that we make, you just have to not remember, but think about where you are at the point, at any given point, okay? Like if I'm doing this, I know I'm at this point, okay? And then I go to this point, okay? And then I might go back because I forgot my hand and go like that. And then I go back, I know that this comes, okay? So that's where I'm at. Then I could jump, okay? And then I know that this comes next, okay? I'm here now, okay? And while you're dancing, that's another thing as far as thinking is concerned. Don't think it all the way through, but leave your mind open, leave your thinking open so that you can remember certain points, know where you are, okay? Sometimes when we're driving home, okay, or walking home, sometimes we get caught up in our thoughts, okay? Thoughts are different than thinking. That's another function. And we look around real quick and we go, where am I? Oh, that's our mind. We went to our thinking and we thought about, we started thinking about where am I? And then we went back to our thoughts. Okay, so that was the other point, and that finishes the review. And now I'm going to go on to number 5, okay? So that's only gonna tell maybe two different steps, and we're gonna get into that. And since we know so much now, and this is the review, I don't have to say so much, but you really need to understand everything from the beginning. So here we are now. Remember. Okay, so that's it. Okay, now another thing too is a lot of times, like right now, I think we're gonna not explain so much about the steps because there's another feature of the mind. You have to start reading what I'm doing. If I explain everything, it's gonna cloud your ability to read the actions that I'm doing. Okay, so that if you do want to do the thriller dance after we finish this, you'll be able to read better too. So now I want you to read what I did. Like I said, we're not doing everything perfectly. At least now, when we do it perfectly, I want it to be natural. Okay, so now I'm going to do it, and I want you to pretty much read. Try and read, but as you go on, your reading gets better, but reading takes a long time. It's because there's so much specifics, but you have to keep time with it, and you got to keep using your time with the reading so that it gets bigger and stronger, but it takes a long time. And one thing I want to stress again, after you do this, the reason why I don't do that much is because your mind processes the information no matter what. I mean, now you can't tell, maybe you'll never be able to tell, but I know what happened because it happens, because I've been doing this a long time. First, after you do it, the reason why I only do it not too much because we're using the mind and the body, and a lot of people are not familiar with it. And anything new, most of the time, I'm not saying any absolutes, but this is what most likely, I'm not going to say most likely because it does happen, but I want to keep it to where I'm not stressing that this is absolute. It just occurs. Let me put it that way. I don't want to make anything like, let me see. How can I say? I think there's an expression called made in stone or written in stone or whatever. I can't come up with it real quick. So what I'm trying to say, don't say that because the mind is very big and the body is very big. It's a lot of things. So I just keep it to as a hint of telling you or to help you out. Okay. Okay, so I lost that point. I'm not going to go back to it unless we can get it. So I was speaking about like reading. I want you to start reading about what you see that I'm doing, okay? And that pretty much ends it. I think that's number 5, okay? I did stress that I want you to start looking at my, looking at and trying